As a professional, I believe we have a certain threshold that we have to meet in order to show our clients that we are quote unquote essential.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
There is a new term. I guess it's a new term. At least it's a phrase that we flip around. You hear it on the news. You hear it when government officials talk. We've been using it ourselves. The term is, quote, essential worker, unquote. I want to talk about that today and decide together, are we as appraisers essential? I'll tell you something that is essential in my business and should be in yours, and that is ANOW software. Now, folks, when I say essential, I was a skeptic when it came to ANOW. It took me several months to be talked into it. Folks, I cannot see myself ever going back. Check it out right now by going to anow.com. It's ANOW, as in appraisersnow.com. Folks, you've heard the phrase, of course, essential worker. Many of us have been, quote unquote, deemed essential workers during this pandemic. And what does that mean? Well, I think what they mean by that, and there's many ways we can look at that, and we're going to explore a couple of those today. But what they mean by that is, despite the shutdown, despite the government saying that, this group of people, for whatever reason, cannot work. By the way, I'm not going to get on my political soapbox today other than to say that it was pretty lame the way that they deemed some individuals, quote unquote, essential and some not. And I know they don't mean essential as far as your value as a human being. I get that, but that's kind of what it feels like. I've had some friends, actually close friends, go out of business during this process. And these are individuals that have been in business for not just months, but years, have built their livelihood around small mom and pop restaurants and other types of businesses that were deemed non-essential. And because they were deemed non-essential, they were required by law to close down. Now, again, I'm not going to get off on my political soapbox, but it was sad. It was sad to see that happen. I can certainly see both sides of the issue. I can see why a government would choose to say, you really don't need to be open. But on the other hand, I have to ask myself, is that the government's role? Now, that's all I'll say on the political side. But I will say this, that this term, essential worker, has become part of our vocabulary. And as appraisers, I believe most, if not all of us across the nation, have been deemed, quote unquote, essential. Now, I know that some states have been harder hit than others. I've got Mastermind and All-Star students throughout the country, and some of them have really not had much of a choice when it comes to working or not working. For example, I've got a Mastermind student, couple of Mastermind students in Pennsylvania, where it was not just said that they could not go into homes, but they could not go out. They could not do drive-bys. And do they feel comfortable doing desktops without that data? I don't know. But some of them have really been hard hit by this pandemic and some of the decisions that have been made by individuals above my pay grade. Now, again, I understand where they're coming from, but I also understand, and the human side of me says that that's been a challenge for a lot of people. So what is an essential worker? Well, again, I think from their perspective, they're saying, yes, we've got a virus, we've got a challenge here, we've got a pandemic on our hands. This COVID-19 thing is not light, it's serious, and there are things that we need to do to be careful and quote unquote flattening the curve. Again, there's a lot of arguments on either side. That's not my purpose today. My purpose today is to say, yes, I understand the term essential worker, but I want to maybe take a different bent on that phrase today. But I want to do so when we get back from the break. I want to pause here and remind you of the essential process in my business, and that is to log every order into ANOW. Folks, it does not just help me to keep track of where I'm at in the order, and by the way, it does. We use the word ANOW probably 300 times a day in my office. Did you check ANOW? Did you look at the notes in ANOW? What does it say in ANOW? What are we doing in ANOW? Did you check ANOW for a prior report? Where are we at in the process? Is it step 3 or step 4 in ANOW? When you deliver the report, did you mark it complete in ANOW? These are the things that we're asking and talking to each other as colleagues in our office about, because everything centralizes around ANOW. ANOW keeps track of every order, the process, the steps that we're taking in each order, but more importantly, it keeps track of my business. At any moment, literally right now, I could look and within a couple of buttons, 5 seconds max, I could find out exactly what I've done as far as revenue in the last 3 months, for example. as far as revenue in the last year, the numbers of reports that I'm doing, the types of reports that I'm doing, who is doing what report. We've got more than one appraiser in my office. ANow keeps track of it all. It will do amazing things for you. Go to anow.com, check it out, anow.com. Welcome back, folks. We're talking about essential workers today. And of course, we know what that phrase means. We hear it in the media. We hear it in our own profession. But I want to talk about you. Are you an essential worker? No, I'm not talking about the pandemic necessarily. No, I'm not talking about a classification that a government official might give you in this case. I'm talking about you as a professional, you as an appraiser, you as a valuation analyst. Are you the individual that your clients can look to and say, you know what, that gal, that guy is an essential worker in my mind? Now, I know it's a little bit hokey, but follow me here. As a professional, I believe we have a certain threshold that we have to meet in order to show our clients that we are quote unquote essential. There's been a lot of talk over the last several years about replacing appraisers. I know there's been a lot of fear by appraisers who think that their job is in jeopardy. There's been a lot of talk over the last several years about computer-based modules. There's been a lot of fear about hybrids and bifurcated products and the like replacing the essentialness of appraisers. My question, my fellow appraisers, is, and I mean this sincerely, what is it that you are doing? What is it that you are doing currently to make sure that your clients understand that you are essential, that it's not enough to get a Zestimate, that it's not enough to do an AVM, that a bifurcated product may not be enough to get the credible data and the credible, reliable report that is needed on a particular property? And I mean this sincerely. Have you changed anything that you do in your business to show your clients that you are essential? For example, are you taking an opportunity in the pandemic to keep your clients and potential clients updated on what's going on in the market? Folks, right now, the biggest question that I get when I'm out and about socializing, social distancing, of course, but from 6 feet apart, when I run into somebody and they either know that I'm an appraiser or they ask what I do and I tell them I'm an appraiser immediately, and you all experience this, I'm not unique in this situation. When they find out or know that you're an appraiser and they pair that with the pandemic, their next question is always, so what's the market doing right now? My question for you, can you answer that question with confidence? And I'm not talking about a BS answer that's like, oh, it's pretty good, and brush them off because you actually have no clue. But can you actually say, you know what, I was just doing statistics yesterday on the local Idaho Falls market, and it's actually, believe it or not, 30 days before the pandemic or before the shutdown and 30 days after the shutdown, it's actually up. Values are up by 1%. Isn't that crazy? Now, that may not last long term. Who knows, right? And maybe it's too early to tell. Maybe some of those sales were already in contract before, right? And so we're just seeing residual. So it'll be interesting to see what the next 30 days brings. But are you essential in the sense that you as a professional actually know what your market is doing? Now, more importantly, I'm not just talking about social distancing cocktail parties here and your neighbor asking, so, Joan, what's the market doing here locally? But even more importantly, are you keeping your clients updated in the appraisal reports that you're doing? Have you changed anything about the way that you report when it comes to COVID-19? Are you giving your investors, your clients, the lenders, an idea of what they're actually lending on? In other words, folks, the lesson for the day, the question for the day, are you truly an essential worker? I'll tell you one thing that's essential right now, and that's getting together with other appraisers to understand what is going on, not just in our local markets, but in the general appraisal world nationwide. Folks, that's what the All-Star team is about. It's helping appraisers to be the very best that they can be. It's answering your questions without guile. It's the Appraiser Coach All-Star team, and you can join it for free right now using the coupon code FREE30ALLSTAR. You'll get a whole month, folks. You'll get to attend my monthly meeting. You get to interact with other individuals. You'll get full access to all back meetings, all back material, all my webinars, and yes, even the members resource library, which is chock full of great files and information that you can utilize to better your business. 30 days if you use the coupon code FREE30ALLSTAR.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
You, as a valuation analyst. Sorry, editor, let's try that again.